What's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of NBA to the Galaxy podcast. I'm your host at Scotty Drown, is where you can find me on X. You can find our other host here, Slimster, at RTR30111. In this episode, as you can see at the top of your screen there, it says top 10 small forwards in the NBA. We're going to give you our list, continue this series of lists of top 10s in each position group. Today, we're going to focus on small forwards going into next season. We like to make that point just so you know where we're coming from. Going into next year, who are going to be the top 10 small forwards? Maybe some guys take a leap. Maybe some guys just continue their dominance, whatever the case may be. But the list should be interesting nonetheless. We are here on a fine Tuesday afternoon, so thank you for anybody that's taking time out of your workday to tune in, to tap in. Share your thoughts in the comments. We'll get you involved in the show. Head over to the YouTube channel specifically if you're watching on Twitter, wherever you happen to be watching. Make sure you head over to the YouTube channel to fully support us. That is where we're trying to grow rapidly. That's where we're trying to get all of our viewers involved in the show. But with that being said, happy Tuesday, my friend Slim. How are you doing, my man?
Doing good, bro. Can't complain. Obviously, I just got the news that we ain't getting Laura marketing, but I mean, hey, at least we can be here doing this to try not to think about it. But overall, I'm doing good, man. So I can't complain.
How do you feel about that, man? It's actually a good point that you brought that up, because I actually did see that report before I hopped on here with you. We didn't bring it up to you before the show. I completely slipped my mind, but I'm glad you brought it up here. Refusal to include pods. We've talked about it a little bit before, as far as their non-interest to include pods in a deal for Lauri Markkanen. Let me ask it to you this way. Let's say Moses Moody's already in the deal. You got first-round picks, second-round picks already in the deal, blah, blah, blah. Everything's already set there. The Jazz say, give us pods plus whatever you have already offered, and you got Lauri Markkanen. Are you accepting that deal? Would you just get it done? Just get Lauri Markkanen next to Steph Curry, next to Draymond, next to Kuminga was not in that proposed deal, right?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't.
So you keep Kuminga and bring Lauri in. Where are you at with that? What would you have done, my man?
I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like the way you just made it sound, I would have definitely like included pods, man. I mean, you're getting an all-star caliber player, guy who's gonna give you like 20 plus points a game, like a guaranteed, high efficient, high volume scorer. Like, he's literally the perfect guy to put alongside Steph at this stage of his career. So, yeah, man, I definitely would have done it, man. As much as I love pods, but I mean, hey, man, it's a business, and sometimes you gotta do it best for business, man. So.
I do agree with that, man. And that it brings me to my point, man, because there's speculation. I've seen a couple tweets from different NBA people or NBA content creators that flow around Twitter or X. And there's been a couple people saying that their takeaway from the Warriors not willing to do this. Obviously it is a lot of young talent. It's Moses Moody, it's pods, plus the draft compensation. So it is your future that you would be trading for Lauri Markkanen. But basically the takeaway that I'm seeing on X is that people believe that the Warriors don't believe in Steph Curry in this championship window anymore, and that they're not willing to sell the future in order to try to get a chance to win a championship. So is that kind of how you view it, or do you still think it's just too much? Maybe they're just looking at it, it's too much to give up, even though you do still have a little bit of a window here with Steph. Like, what are your thoughts there?
No, I think that they don't believe. I mean, before Bob Myers left our former GM, like he came out and said that he didn't think that Steph Curry could win again. So I mean, I think that's the perspective they're looking at. Like maybe they view Steph as another guy who can go out there and get them another championship, but he can still prove them wrong. He has done it again. But that's crazy to think that your ownership group don't believe in you like that, and you're proven to be one of the best point guards to ever play this game. But yeah, I think that it's just one of those things. So they just don't believe in him more so than just they're giving up a lot. I mean, you can view it as you're giving up a lot, but look what you're getting in return, bro. Like a superstar, like franchise caliber player you can build around post the Steph Curry era. So yeah, it's crazy, but here we are, man. Here we are.
Now, and I hate to ask this because I'm not wishing this on you, because the reason I'm not wishing this on you is because The Sixers have no chance of trading for a guy like Steph Curry. We don't even have the resources. We don't have the things that we would need to in order to make that trade. Not that it would even fit, right? We have Tyrese Maxey, whatever. So I'm not wishing this on you, but do you think there's a chance? Maybe not this season, right? Maybe Steph gives it one more year in Golden State. Do you think there's a chance that we ever see Steph on a different team other than Golden State? Could you see him switching teams over the next, say, 3 seasons?
I would say more so no than yes, but if he were to, because he has brought this up at one point, and that would be if he were to go play for his hometown team, the Charlotte Hornets. That would probably be
That
the
is
only thing that makes
interesting.
sense because like ring chasing, like Steph isn't, he don't have anything to prove. Like
You
if
don't need to do that.
yeah, he
Yeah,
don't need to like do that. So yeah,
that's
I feel like
fair.
the only team that makes sense would if he were to go home to the Charlotte Hornets. So yeah, but other than that, I feel like he'd be a Warrior for life though.
And that, that's an interesting point. Because something like that could definitely even almost glorify Steph's career a little bit more in a sense. Like more than him, like say, let's say next season he decides to force his way to LA to play with LeBron, right, on the Lakers. And I'm not saying that that's even possible, but like, let's just say he did. He would be looked at, he would be frowned upon in the NBA, right? It would be a KD-esque move to Golden State in a sense, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And maybe not that deep, right, where they're at in their careers, but just for this talking point. Whereas if he goes to Charlotte and just takes them to the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, he would be looked at a lot better in just in the spotlight by doing something like that rather than ring chasing like you're talking about and going to the Lakers. Now, something interesting, and once again, this is like out of the box. The San Antonio Spurs, man.
Come on, man.
With Victor Wembanyama.
Man.
I mean, it's so interesting. Steph and a guy like that would be crazy to see them play together, but once again, we're stepping way outside the box at that point because I don't think they would trade him in the Western Conference.
Yeah, I know you brought this up a while back. I think we talked about this before Wemby rookie season or something we was talking about, but I will say this: like Steph has made it clear that he does not care to play for a bottom feeder team. So if you're to go to say Warriors front office, you should definitely be taking those, man. Like obviously we didn't get a big fish this offseason by getting Laurie Marketing, but that still doesn't mean that our hopes are dead to go out there and get a guy like, I don't know, Zach LaVine, Ingram at the trade deadline or
Jeremy
potentially like
Grant.
Jeremy Grant next season. Like
Yeah.
you should still be out there looking to make this team better for sure. So yeah, but to see Steph play alongside women, man, that would be crazy, bro. Like Steph gravity alone would get
It would
women so
be.
many dunks, bro.
I know, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm envisioning in my head right now. Is just like that 2-man game, pick and roll, screen and roll, all of that. But let's not jump the gun, right? Like let's not move Steph off your squad just yet. I'm not trying to wish that on you by any means. I just think it is a relevant talking point where the Warriors are at right now. But
Yeah.
if Steph comes out and they're able to get into the playoffs, maybe get into a top 6 seed in the West, all of this conversation goes away in a sense. So we just got to wait and see how they play this season and not jump to any conclusions just yet, my man. But we do got an interesting list to get into here on the show. We were talking about it before we went live here, and tweeners, positionless basketball, right? Like that's what you said to me before we came into this show. And it's so true when you look at even the NBA champions from this past season. You had times where Kristaps Porzingis is playing center, Tatum playing power forward, Jaylen Brown playing small forward, right? But we included Jaylen Brown in our shooting guards just because that's where we truly consider him to kind of place within the position groups. So let's keep all that in mind as we go through this list. These are not set in stone positions at the end of the day. This is just our perception. We're going by ESPN and the way they have them listed. And so we'll just kind of go from there. But just wanted to say that out in the forefront, my man. But let me ask you this before we dig into the actual list. How did you feel about making this list compared to the other 2 lists we've done so far, the shooting guards and the point guards? Like how, on a difficulty scale, how difficult was it for you to compute this list?
I will say this: like every list we've done so far, it's definitely been more challenging for me. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like it just feels like when you leave like certain guys off the list, it feels like you kind of disrespecting them in a sense. But it's like
I feel that.
I mean, it's a top 10 list, so it's like somebody bound to get left off, man. Like everybody not going to make the list, so that's where I'm at with it. Like, and I feel like it's only going
I
to
do
get like
feel
that
that.
for power forward and centers, man. It's just going to get challenging as we go on.
Yep.
So yeah,
It's
that's
just
where
gonna
I'm at
keep
with it.
going.
Yeah,
Because that's the thing that's happened the last two shows we've done where we've done these lists is you'll say a name that I completely forgot about. Like
yeah,
last show, for me it was Desmond Bain. I completely overlooked Desmond Bain going into making my list of shooting guards,
yeah.
just because he didn't play a lot last year, so he wasn't at the top of the list when you go in and look at the shooting guards that played last year. So stuff like that always seems to pop up. You wanted to make a clarification on your shooting
Yeah. I
guard
was
list.
just
Let's
gonna
go
say
ahead
that. Yeah.
and clarify that now.
Yeah.
I'll give you the floor right here, my man.
I was just gonna say that. So yeah, man. Like I had Desmond Bain. Like he's still on my list, but I gotta put Kyrie Irving on that list, man. Like I completely forgot about him. Like he's a tweener. Man, you talked about it. Like he can play the
Yeah,
point guard and the
yeah,
shooting guard. But I gotta put him on my list, man. I felt like kind of bad not putting him on there. So yeah, he's definitely top five for sure. Even going into next season, like he had a pretty bad finals series, so that's
yeah,
probably what made me kind of forget about him in a sense. But he's still a damn good player. So I gotta put Kyrie on my list and. You mentioned another two guys to me that I
yeah,
honestly forgot about was
yeah.
I'm not saying they make my list, but I forgot about them. That's Zach LaVine and Bradley Beal going into next season. I completely forgot about those guys. So yeah,
Yeah, no, those are two guys I completely forgot about as well. Two guys whose value has dropped significantly
yeah,
just
man,
in the last season. Like
yeah,
Bradley Beal going from Washington to Phoenix. His value was down before that trade, but it went down even further this season when they had him kind of playing like a combo guard role between point guard and shooting guard. It just didn't seem like
yeah,
he was working that well. He's injured, beat up. Zach LaVine, kind of the same thing, just injured last year. Value went down significantly. Chicago trying to get rid of him. They can't even sell him
yeah. I know,
for
right?
what would appear to be less than his value. But I think when I look at my list from last week, I don't know that I'm putting Bradley Beal on that list, but I do think Zach LaVine could probably get on that list for me.
I feel that.
Like when I think of Zach LaVine, he's a and shooting guard for my money. I know his value went down a lot this last season, but for example, I would take him over RJ Barrett. I would
Yeah,
take Zach LaVine over RJ
okay.
Barrett.
That's fair. That's fair.
CJ McCollum. James Harden was a guy we talked about, right? Devin Vassell.
Cam Thomas. Maybe Cam Thomas.
Cam Thomas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would take him over Cam Thomas. Jalen Green. What about him?
That's
That one's
kind of
tough.
yeah. That's a tough one right there. That's kind of tough for me.
They're like similar players, but Jalen
Yeah.
Green's younger
Yeah,
in
if
a
it's a
sense,
Jalen Green's ceiling is probably a little bit more higher.
Yeah, I can agree
But
with that.
what about Anthony Simons though?
Because where my mind went, as soon as you said that, my mind went to put Anthony Simons on the Chicago Bulls. What does that look like?
Mm.
And I don't know. They're probably around the same like caliber. You know what I mean? Those guys would probably be like my 7 through 10s, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like I would put them
yeah.
in that range.
Yeah, like they all
That's
interchangeable.
tough
So
though.
yeah.
Because like I guess the way I like Simon's game a lot. I like Simon's game more than Levine's, but they
Mhm.
are like a similar like caliber,
Yeah, so
like
like you really
ceiling, if
can't.
that makes
Yeah,
sense.
you really can't go wrong because they're all like interchangeable. Like from that
Yeah,
standpoint, like 7 on down.
yeah. So that's a great point that we thought of coming into this show. Just to clarify, at the end of all of these lists, we're gonna put out a thread on X. We'll have all of our official lists finalized after we get these shows done. And then on TikTok, we'll put out a series of TikToks as well, kind of finalizing each of our lists. So this isn't it. Each show it's kind of moving in transition as we grasp a little bit more and go through these lists a little bit more. But something to keep in mind there. But man, let's get started. Let's jump into that's what this show's about. Top 10 small forwards. Let's get to what the people want to hear about here. I'm going to throw it to you first, my man. Top 10, we're going to start at number 10. Who comes in at number 10 to start your list here, my man?
Man. Yeah, so we talked about how challenging this was, and this was very challenging, man. But for me, coming in at number 10, I got Mikal Bridges of the New York Knicks. I feel like him going into next season, he's going to have a huge impact for those guys. he's going to get him around 18, maybe 19 points per game. He just impacts winning. He never misses games.
Yeah.
He's reliable. He's going to play out his games and provide something in a positive way doing that. So, yeah, for me, I got McHale coming in number 10 next season. I feel like he'll be pretty good for the Knicks going into next season, man.
I do like the Mikal pick as well. He, just to be clear, is in my top 10 as well, so I don't disagree with you having him in the top 10. But my number 10 actually comes in at Scotty Barnes. So Scotty Barnes from the Toronto Raptors came in the list at number 10 for me. I will say this is more of a preference, I guess, versus production, right? Like his production is really, it could be better than some of the guys that are ahead of him on my list. So he covers the board. He does a lot of everything. He can score the ball, obviously. Not the greatest shooter, but has gotten better. Shoots 34% from three. But the main thing is that he covers all the bases. He rebounds. He can play make. He obviously can defend. He's athletic. So yeah, I really like Scotty Barnes' game, and I think what dropped him a little bit on my list, if he's higher on yours, I'm not sure, but what dropped him a little bit on my list was play style. It's just not as smooth and pretty as I kind of like my wing to be, if that makes sense. But you'll see how the rest of my list plays out here. To be clear, the guy that I have right ahead of him at number 9, and then I'll throw it back to you. I have Mikal Bridges at number 9, so I'm right there with you. He's not too much higher than what you have him, but I went with him over Scotty Barnes. Now, I will say this, and maybe this contradicts myself a little bit, so bear with me. Scotty Barnes probably has the higher ceiling than Mikal Bridges, right? Mm-hmm. Like when Scotty Barnes, as he develops over the next 2 seasons, I would give it about 2 seasons to put himself really on the map and become that type 1A, 1B type player. Maybe just a 2, right? Like maybe he's the second guy on a championship contender, but nonetheless, I think Mikal Bridges is ultimately a 3rd guy on a championship contender, maybe even a 4th guy. But the thing with Mikal Bridges is fit. Where does he fit on that New York Knicks roster going in the next season? And I think Mikal Bridges is going to look great in that New York Knicks offense as a defender, especially complimenting guys like Jalen Brunson and even oh my God, what's his name? It's Julius Randle. Slipping my mind there, but Julius Randle, OG Anunoby. I think he's going to compliment guys like that with the New York Knicks. So I did go with Mikal Bridges, just more of like, how many teams would Mikal Bridges fit on versus Scotty Barnes? But then when you go past just fit wise, I will agree. Scotty Barnes probably has the higher ceiling than a Mikal Bridges. So
yeah, that's fair.
Who did you
who I have at number 9?
Yeah.
For me, I got Brandon Ingram of the New Orleans Pelicans coming in at number 9. Man.
Okay.
It's interesting to see because I don't even know if this man gonna even be on the Pelicans going into next season because we know they went out and got DeJounte Murray, and it's still like the fit thing that I'm still trying to figure out with that team. Like, who's going to start?
He's a great example.
Come off the bench because I don't know Zion. I don't know if they would go that small by putting Zion at the 5. I would hope not anyway, but.
Right.
It's interesting to see like what direction they tend to go in with BI, but nonetheless, I mean, I feel like he's going to have a pretty good productive season going into next season, give you like 23, 24 points per game.
Yeah.
Depending on which team he's on, maybe make an all-star game or not, but I still feel like he'll have a pretty high production season going into next season. So yeah, for me, man, I got Brandon Ingram coming in at number 9.
I think that's a great point. And just after I talk about fit, you kind of bring up a guy that is like the king of that conversation where he's just not the greatest fit on a lot of teams. And I think that's the problem with Brandon Ingram and his game in today's day and age. He's just not your typical 3-and-D type of wing that is going to completely space the floor. He needs the ball in his hands. He shoots a lot of mid-range, gets to the rim, but he is a good playmaker and such. So I do have him a little bit higher on my list. I'll just kind of go ahead and give a precursor there. But I do agree. He's in that fit conversation as well. Just while we're talking about Brandon Ingram right here with your number 9, if you were the Pelicans, and I've thought this over a few times, I haven't come to an answer myself, but I'm curious if you have one. if you had to trade one of, say, CJ McCollum or Brandon Ingram, which one would you be more likely or more willing to move? Because the way I look at it, right, you could either go with DeJounte Murray as your point. You could have Trey Murphy play the 2, or Herb Jones, either one, right? You could have either one of those guys play the 2. You could have Brandon Ingram at the 3. You could have Zion at the 4, and then who did they bring in at center? It's slipping my mind right now.
That's the big hole right there. I mean, they got Daniel Tyson, they got the rookie they drafted, but other than that,
they lost Valanciunas.
Yeah, they don't really have anybody. So that's why I say like it's a fit thing, you know. So
maybe if you can move Brandon Ingram and get like a quality center in return, that would be the way to go. But I guess it's like length versus like ball handling in a sense, because like if you don't move off CJ McCollum, it's going to be DeJounte, CJ. If you move Brandon Ingram, then Trey Murphy at the 3, then Zion, and then whoever you have at the 5. So
yeah, so
I don't know.
For me, I would probably say I feel like the best thing to do is probably move Ingram, because I feel like you can get a lot for him.
Get more back.
CJ. Yeah, you can't get more back. And from my understanding, the Pelicans, they want to eventually start Trey Murphy. So, I mean, if you trade Ingram, that's the perfect guy. So, yeah, and then he's up for a contract extension, so why not? So,
yeah, that's a great point.
Seeing that the Utah Jazz was interested in Ingram, actually, so should be
interesting. Could they do something for Lauri? I mean, I don't think the Jazz are looking to trade Lauri for Ingram necessarily, but maybe. I mean, the contracts would certainly make it work in a sense. That's interesting nonetheless. But Brandon Ingram, trading him. Trey Murphy, he's a guy who has potential to creep up into this list, in my opinion, next year.
Yeah, he does.
He didn't make my list, but he's a guy that's right there. I really like his game. Who's your number 8? So you went number 9. Who's your number 8?
Yeah. So for me, coming in at number 8, man, I got OG, man. OG just got paid, man. He can help us out, bro. Throw us some money over here, man. But yeah, I got OG coming in at number 8, going into next season. I mean, you talk about a guy who impacts winning. Like, OG is a true definition of that. Before he got injured, when he got traded to the Knicks, I think they only lost maybe 1 or 2 games with him during that run that he
it was a crazy ass record.
Yeah. He just impacts winning, bro. Like, he's a Swiss Army knife. He guard multiple positions. Well, he literally can guard every position, we've been honest here. So, yeah, that, and he got a pretty nice offensive game as well. So, I don't expect him to average like a ton of points, but this is more so like a pick, like a preference standpoint, because I love defense. I love two-way guys, and OG is like one of those guys at the top of the list. So, yeah, I got to show love to OG, and I got him coming in at number 8.
No, I do respect it, and I'll go ahead and put it out there. He was the guy you brought to my attention, but right before the show, a guy that I kind of forgot about, no lie, when I was making this list. Because, like you said, he's not going to necessarily kill it in the scoring department, but he literally does everything else, and he can score. He can give you a 20-plus point game. He's just not going to do it every single game. But when you talk about the two-way, he's arguably the best. I mean, I'm looking at the rest of this. There's a couple guys, right? You look at superstars, but after superstars, he's arguably the best two-way player that you could put on this list when it comes from the defensive standpoint. He can guard 1 through 5. So I do definitely agree with the value there for OG, although he didn't necessarily make my list. Coming in at number 8 for me, and I know this might be a little low, but this is once again a preference in a sense, a fit situation. And it is DeMar DeRozan. And I'm not trying to disrespect him. I'm not, because I know that he is a good quality player. I know that he's been a quality player in the NBA for a really long time. He's a guy that can get his own bucket. And I do appreciate that. It's just in this day and age, man, where the 3-point shot is so important in not only, just from a player standpoint, but from a team standpoint. Spacing the floor is so huge in today's game that I do have to take a little bit of a detractor from DeMar DeRozan and my appreciation for his game, because there is a world where his game is kind of, I don't want to say it's aged out, It's not like that. You'll take a 20-point scorer any day on your roster. It's just not ideal, if that makes sense. But I will say, you could say the same thing about Brandon Ingram, who I have a little bit higher on this list. So maybe I'm being a little particular here with DeMar DeRozan, but he did come in at number 8 for me, man. And I'll go ahead and throw it out there. Brandon Ingram came in at number 7 for me, so he's the guy that I have right above him here. I'm not going to harp on Brandon Ingram too much. I think you hit a lot of good points with him. I think he just has gotten to the point where he is a little underrated. This guy can average 23, 24 points per game. He can play make, averages over 5 assists per game, over 5 rebounds. The fit isn't great down there in New Orleans besides Zion, right? We see that. And that is kind of a reason that they need to move him. But I do think he's a guy that could kind of revitalize himself somewhere else where maybe the fit is a little bit better. But so far for me, Scotty Barnes at 10, Mikal Bridges at 9, DeMar DeRozan at 8, Brandon Ingram at 7 for me so far here, man.
Yeah, so for me coming in at number 7, man, and it's interesting that you brought up DeMar DeRozan, because I got to go and throw this out there. Like, I'm just looking at my list, and this is crazy. He didn't even make it. I put his name down, but he didn't make it.
Fair enough, though.
I put his name down, and that's crazy because I'm a huge DeMar DeRozan fan. I've been a fan of him since he was with the Raptors. And
what is it? Why didn't he make your list?
And I feel like it's a disrespect thing, but it's like I think I ended up just choosing PG over him overall. Like, and this is like a list going to next season, so it's like I think it came down to who would I choose between DeMar and PG. That's what it ultimately came down to, and ultimately I ended up going PG coming in at number 7 for me. So yeah, man, like. No disrespect to DeMar, but I end up going PG-13. I feel like he's going to have a pretty good season with the Sixers going into next season. Going to give you around 22, 23 points per game. They're going to be a team you reckon with. They have a great offseason. Like, they got a lot of good players who fit alongside Maxey, PG, and Joel Embiid. So, yeah, I got playoff P coming in at, podcast P. Not playoff P, podcast P coming in at number 7, man. Going into next season.
I like that pick. Obviously, I'm biased with Paul George, so he's a little bit higher on my list
man.
as well. Bro, this guy. But it was funny, man. I was listening to his pod. It's funny you called him Podcast P because I was listening to it the other day. He had Tyrese Maxey on, and Tyrese Maxey told him like one of the biggest things that he should look forward to next year with playing with the Sixers is the spacing. Like Tyrese Maxey said, he's never been so open in his career playing next to somebody like Joel Embiid. Who just takes up a ton of attention. He has to be double teamed, sometimes even triple teamed. So there's going to be plenty of space for Paul George to move around and work.
Yeah.
Out there, even compared to a guy like Kawhi, right, who garners a ton of attention as well. Just a different level.
Because Paul George shot he was like when catch and shoot threes, he was pretty high, right?
Yeah, up in the 40s. He was at the close to the top of the league when it came to catch and shoot threes specifically. So he should be having a ball there in Philly next year. So I like the pick. Who's your number 6?
Yeah, so keep him this is like going into next season, and I'm very high on this guy, man. And for me coming in number 6, I got Franz Wagner, the Orlando Magic, man. I got him coming in number 6. I feel like he gonna have a breakout season. He just got paid. All-star caliber player, all NBA. I'm very high on this guy. I like his game, and I feel like the Magic, they're only going to continue to get better. They added KCP. They're definitely going to make the playoffs again for sure. So, yeah, I got Franz Wagner coming in number 6. He's going to have a huge season.
I love the pick, bro, because this is exactly where I have Franz Wagner as well. Number 6 on my list as well, man. And part of it, obviously, he's with the Orlando Magic, led them to the postseason last year. They had a very competitive series against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round. He is the number 2 guy there on that team. And I do believe he can live up to that standard of being a number 2 player on a championship team. But I've also been really impressed with what he's been doing in the Olympics as well. I've tried not to, put too much of my weight as far as these players and how they're playing in the Olympics. But he's on a Germany team that isn't filled with superstars like the USA team. They got players, Dennis Schroeder, the other Wagner twin, Daniel Tice. They got some guys mixed in there, but he is the guy for Germany. And he's had some I'm not going to say like Luka Jokic-esque performances for like Serbia, different things like that, but he's had a top tier player-ish type of games throughout the Olympics so far for Germany. So I do have to give him a little bit of credit, but he's a guy who can just do a little bit of everything, but score the ball. He can score the ball at an excessive clip. He is a 20-plus point guy for my money, especially going
6'8",
into
right?
next year.
Yeah.
Huh?
He's about like 6'8", or is he like 6'9"?
Let me look at it really quick just to confirm. I want to say
some height to
6'8".
him, man. He got some height to him.
Yo, they have him listed at 6'10". So
damn.
Yeah, that's a big dude. It's a big dude. 6'10". So he's approaching 7 feet. He's only 22 years old. I can't remember like the age exactly where you stop growing, but maybe this man gets up to 7 foot. I don't know.
That would be crazy, bro. But just
with his handle,
like positionless basketball, man. So
yeah,
this is crazy, bro. I wouldn't be surprised if Wemby were to play point guard. Like this would be crazy.
man, or like a small forward or something. Like it's possible, right? Like, yeah, no, I do like your point though. Just clarifying, this is going into next year, so maybe Franz isn't better than DeRozan last year or whatever. I think he was, honestly, but yeah, going into next year, I expect Franz to take an even bigger jump. KCP should give them a little bit more spacing as well, a little bit more room for him to work. So yeah, I like the Franz Wagner pick there at number 6. Number 5, I want PG Podcast P. He comes in at number 5 for me. It's just like I said earlier, I think the floor spacing is going to be completely different for him. I think he will be a guy playing with Embiid, Maxey, where some nights he'll have 15 to 18 points. Some nights he'll have 23 to 25 points, maybe even 30 points on a rare night. But I do think he will be eclipsing that 20 points per game mark, somewhere around there with a little bit more efficient shooting. Whereas I do think Maxey and Embiid, they're going to be the 1 and 2. Like Embiid 1, Maxey 2, and then Paul George. So it's not that I expect his numbers to go up necessarily from what they were in LA, but I do expect him to be a little bit more efficient and maybe impact the game more from a playmaking standpoint and defensive, like guarding wings, guarding the best player standpoint. So I did go with PG there. I think we can agree. Paul George, growing up in this era, you're a little bit younger than me, so maybe even more for you. I don't know, maybe more or less. Paul George is kind of one of the favorites of this era of basketball when you look at style of play, right?
Yeah,
so a little bit of bias.
Like, Carmelo Anthony, Cayenne Anthony, they call him like the GOAT. Brandon Miller. They call him the GOAT. Like, I mean, I ain't mad at it. They just like his play style. He got a smooth game.
Not the GOAT, but he's got a great play style.
Yeah. Obviously, he's not the GOAT, but he got like a nice smooth play style. And kids, they tend to like follow suit to this. So
yeah, no, I completely agree with you. So far, Paul George at number 5, Franz Wagner at number 6, Brandon Ingram at number 7, DeMar DeRozan at 8, Mikal Bridges at 9, Scotty Barnes at 10 so far.
Yeah, for you. So for me, I got Franz at 6, PG at 7, OG at 8, Brandon Ingram at 9, and Mikal Bridges at 10. And for me, coming in at number 5, I got to go with the fun guy, man, Kawhi Leonard. Going into next season, it's going to be a huge season for them because, I mean, at this point, like your 1A and your 1B is Kawhi and then James Harden. So Kawhi, he got to perform. He got to be available. And I give Kawhi a lot of credit because last season he did play a lot of games. I think he played like either like 68 or like 70 games last season. So that's pretty good considering the fact that, Kawhi Leonard been dealing with a lot of injuries and whatnot. So for him to, be available, that was huge because availability is the best ability, in my opinion, when it comes down to sports anyway. So for Kawhi to, show up, and he had a pretty good season, averaging like 24, 25 points. So this season here, I feel like he's going to have to definitely produce his scoring like up because, with the departure of Paul George now. So
yeah, that's a good point.
And who's to say like James Harden is going to rewind the clock? Like we can't just say that at this stage of his career. Like he can give you like 20 points per game, but it's still not a guarantee. So for me, I got Kawhi coming in number 5 going to next year. I think he have a huge season with the Clippers, and yeah, man, see how it go. Got Kawhi coming in number 5.
Yeah, no, I like the pick. I like everything you said about him. When he's at his best, you can argue he has one of the highest ceilings on this list, if not the highest, up there with the top 4, right? But you do have to factor in injuries. At the end of the day, he had the 68 games played in the regular season. Didn't play much in the postseason, which was completely disappointing, right? Haven't seen him with the USA team. Not as disappointing as a postseason. It's not as important, but nonetheless, I do agree with your points there. Who's your number 4 before we move to mine?
Yeah, but before I say that, like, is it crazy to think that Kawhi is just like, what, 33, 34? Like, that's crazy to me, man. I feel like this man been in the league forever. And I feel the same way with Andre Drummond.
Tim Duncan.
Yeah, I feel the same way with Andre Drummond, bro. Like, he been in the league forever, and he's still in his early 30s. Like,
the Detroit Pistons, bro. Like, how young did these guys come into the league? Like, and that's the thing. I believe Kawhi, like, he played at San Diego State. So there's no way he played less than like 2 years in college. You know what I mean? Going to a school like that. Like, he might have played all 4 years in college. So came into the league at like 21, 22, 23 years old. And he's still only 33, 34.
33, 34. Like, man.
That's what. That's actually a great point as well with a lot of these guys on this list. I know you didn't have DeMar DeRozan on your list. But for me, DeMar DeRozan, Paul George, all over the age of what, 33-ish, 34-ish.
Yeah, 35.
So, and there's a couple more guys on my list as we move forward. In my top 4 that are all over that age as well. So it'll be interesting.
Man, it's interesting. But for me, coming in number 4, man, I got Jimmy Buckets, man. Jimmy Butler. This is a huge season for him. Yeah, this is a huge season for him. You know, contract situation. He's playing for another contract with the Miami Heat. So yeah, I feel like he'll have a huge season for the Heat. I haven't been hearing a ton of news overall with the Heat in general, and let alone Jimmy Butler. But from what I have seen, that he's for sure like locked in on trying to end his career with the Miami Heat. So I feel like he's going to have like a huge season with the Heat, and you know, obviously I feel like they're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to like bother some teams, but. Yeah, man, I got Jimmy Butler coming in number 4, man. Jimmy Buckets.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. I think you hit the nail on the head. This is a huge season for him. At some point, I guess the way you have to put it in a sense is, does he start to show his age at some point? And you can say this about all these guys, right? Like, does Paul George show his age at some point? Has he already started to show his age? Kawhi Leonard, same thing. Which, to be clear, Kawhi Leonard comes in at number 4 for me here. So a spot above where you had him. I believe you had him at number 5 there. I have Kawhi the Claw at number 4. For a lot of the same reasons he comes up in that spot for me. I mean, like I said, he has one of the higher ceilings of a player on this list. But it's the injuries. It's the injuries in the biggest moments of the season, including the playoffs last year, where I just need to see him get back to the playoffs and dominate. He played in like 1 game in the postseason last year. It might have been 2. Might have been 1.5 games, actually.
I think he got injured when they played the Celtics, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he got injured.
Because I'm trying to think here. The first game so you're saying he might not have played in the playoffs at all. Is that what you're saying?
Jimmy played like in game 1 against the Celtics.
Oh, I'm talking about Kawhi. Kawhi.
Oh, Kawhi. Okay. Kawhi.
Yeah, I'm talking about Kawhi. Kawhi at number 4 for me.
Kawhi. Yeah, I don't think Kawhi played at all, actually, against that series against the Mavericks.
He played in 2 games. He played in 2 games.
Okay.
And he I think he got injured in the second game because he only had 9 points, only played 25 minutes. In the first game, he had 15.7 rebounds, 4 steals. So he wasn't putting up, historic numbers before that. He was dealing with an injury at the end of the day. And that's kind of the story with Kawhi the last couple years, right? Where the Clippers are right there. They seem like they can be a contender in the West. And then, boom, Kawhi's injured during the last stretch of the season, and it cripples them. Ultimately, I do still respect his game at the end of the day. To your next point, my next guy who comes in at number 3 is going to be Jimmy Buckets. And I'm not going to add too much more there on top of what you've already said. I thought you hit the nail on the head. This is a big year for him. What's he going to be able to do with the Miami Heat in the postseason? That's what it comes down to. That's where they're operating. You got Bam Adebayo, you got Tyler Hero, you got Terry Rozier, you got Jaime Jaquez in his second year. You got guys. You got guys down there that they're going to be able to compete. Yeah. That's a great point as well. Because who was the guy that they got? Who's the rookie? I'm getting confused here.
His last name is Ware. Yeah. He's a center.
I know. Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. Is it Khalil Ware?
Yeah, Ware. Yeah,
Khalil Ware. Yeah, another wing player, tweener like type of player there.
Yeah.
That I'm sure they'll be able to get the most out of down there with Eric Spoelstra. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I tend to agree with you. Jimmy Butler in the top 4 at least. I have him in top 3. Mm-hmm. But he seems to go nuclear in the postseason. Just wasn't healthy in the postseason last year.
Yeah, for sure. For me, coming in number 3, man, I'm very high on this guy, bro. I'm very high, and he's a tweener. He's really a tweener.
I know where you're going here.
And that's Scotty Barnes, man. I got Scotty Barnes coming in number 3. Very high on this guy. I feel like he's gonna have a great season. Like, there shouldn't be no expectations with the Toronto Raptors. Like, obviously they got a lot of guys making a ton of money over there, but I don't think their intentions is just to make it to the postseason, or let alone the finals or something like that. So.
Right.
With that being said, I feel like Scotty going to have a breakout season, just coming off an All-Star season. He's going to put his name up there with some of the best wings in this league. So, yeah, he got a nice game, nice feel for the game. So, yeah, he just got paid. So, yeah, I expect a huge season out of him going into next season. Scotty Barnes.
No, I obviously have him in my top 10, but I have him quite a bit lower. Once again, though, I tried to lay that out as clear as possible. That's more about fit for me. But to your point, you can argue that he has. Man, let me look at my list real quick here again. I had ESPN pulled up there for a second, just looking at his numbers. But outside of the top 2 for me here, I think you could argue that his ceiling is higher going forward, and I strictly going forward, right? Mm-hmm. Mikal Bridges already said he has a higher ceiling there. Franz Wagner probably has a higher ceiling there. Brandon Ingram, Paul George, obviously they're at the latter parts of their career. Brandon Ingram not as much, but Paul George, Kawhi. It's interesting. Scotty Barnes is an interesting player. I respect that you have him in your top 3. I do, because I think his potential next season is there. He could have a significant jump. But who's your number 2? He came in at number 2 for you.
For me coming in at number 2, man, I got LeBron. I got LeBron coming in number 2, man. The longevity, I mean, the man finna be 40 years old and he's still averaging like 25 points per game.
Facts.
We never seen nothing like this. So it's only right I pay my respects to this. I mean, he's one of the greatest players to ever play this game. So, like I said, it's only right I got him coming in at number 2 going to next season. It's interesting to see like which route that the Lakers tend to go, because they didn't necessarily make a lot of noise this offseason. But I think LeBron and AD still gonna do what they do regardless. I mean, they're top players in this league for a reason. So, yeah, I got LeBron coming in at number 2.
I like how you doing that, LeBron. Yeah, I gotta try that myself, man.
I don't know if you watched the RDC World thing. They did like a thing with the Team USA, and it was funny, bro.
No, you're gonna have to shoot that to me, man. Yeah, I didn't see that, but that's just funny in itself.
I'm gonna send it.
No, that is so interesting, bro. Because like I thought that we were gonna disagree here, just because I thought maybe I was being biased with my number 1, but I went with LeBron at number 2 as well, bro. I was almost like misconstrued by the Olympics. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I've been watching the Olympics, and LeBron has been magical during the Olympics. He's going all out. He's balling out, putting his best out there for Team USA, and I respect it. By all means, he's like you said, he's 39, pushing 40, dog, and about to be playing at a superstar level in the NBA. It's crazy to imagine.
It is, brother.
So I give him respect for it, but at the end of the day, if I had to start a team next year and I had to pick one of these players and put it in a list, like in order like that, I'm going with Jason Tatum over LeBron. And I'm not saying Jason Tatum's going to be a better player than LeBron in his career, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, just win. We on the same page right here. Just win podcast. Just win, baby. Podcast. Appreciate you tapping in, showing love here. Jason Tatum is the best small forward in the game. I'm the first on YouTube. Yeah, I agree. At the end of the day, even with this being said, LeBron is past his prime to an extent, right? He's not at the best level of his career. We know that. And to that point, I thought Jason Tatum, when we look at this going into next year specifically, Jason Tatum has caught so much heat, even with winning an NBA championship. Yeah. I hate the Boston Celtics, by the way. I'm a Sixers fan. I fucking hate the Celtics. But I'm going to say this. Jason Tatum is going to go on a tear next year, and he's going to be in MVP conversations, man. He might lead the way for all we know. Barring Jokic and Luka, they're going to be in the combo as well all the time. SGA, those are guys that are always going to be there going forward. But I do expect Tatum to come out with something to prove again, even after winning an NBA championship. Doesn't get Eastern Conference Finals MVP, doesn't get Finals MVP, even though he led the team in points, rebounds, assists in the finals. Didn't get Finals MVP. That's fine. I'm not arguing against that. But I just think he's going to operate with a pretty huge chip on his shoulder next year. And to that point, man, Jason Tatum is the best all-around small forward in the game for my money. And that's ultimately why LeBron comes in at second. It's no negative thing to say. It's not a detractor about LeBron. It's just more to say how great Jason Tatum has been.
Yeah, man, we both agree. Like, Jason Tatum is the number one small forward going into next season. I mean, he's coming off a championship season. Like, he's only going to get better. I mean, I don't know if you get this joke, but he's only 19, so he's only going to get better. Moving forward. So, yeah, I mean, he didn't win Finals MVP or Eastern Conference Finals MVP, so he's definitely going to have a chip on his shoulder to, get in the mix of the MVP conversation for sure, which I think he definitely will. He's still young. His ceiling is still high. He's only going to get better from here. You talk about he led his team in points, rebound, assists. I was very impressed with his rebounding during that postseason.
Yeah, same.
He was playing grown man basketball, getting physical, getting rebounds. So yeah. I mean, he's only 19. He's only going to get better. So yeah.
Yeah,
I got Jason Tatum at number one as well. So
I completely agree. I completely agree with what you said there about rebounding. And it's kind of where I garnered a little bit more respect for him, where everybody was kind of shitting on him for his bad shooting numbers. But I'm sitting here looking at this man, double-digit rebounds in back-to-back games. He's out there playmaking for other guys,
defending,
not being non-selfish, right? And a lot of the time we just sit here and rag on him for that, and I just don't even think that's fair. I think that's nitpicking. I think that's what's wrong with basketball analyzation in this day and age, is not respecting certain things like that. So, yeah, I agree with you. Just Win, baby podcast. Hey, he said, drop the link. We're almost done on here, bro. The list just ended, but we'll definitely we'll subscribe back. We'll get involved, get in touch with you, and see if you want to collab in the future, my man. Because we definitely appreciate you coming on the page, giving us some comments here.
Yes, sir, for sure.
Definitely would love to collab in the future. But yeah, this is just small forwards. Just Win, baby. So Jalen Brunson, John Morant, we did those lists. If you want to go check out those episodes from just a few weeks before, but we did go through point guards and shooting guards. Said if AD barely top 10, then what makes you think LeBron elite still? That's fair. We'll get to do AD very soon. We'll get to talk about him very soon.
We're getting tired of it, man.
Marshawn Lynch commenting. He said, "Fucking Canada, man."
What's good, Marshawn, man? What's good, man?
Canada just lost to France, 82-73. Victor Wembanyama didn't even go off in this game either. 7 points, 12 rebounds, 2 for 10 from the field. Did SGA do 27, 5 and 4 for SGA, but still come away with the L. It's interesting, man. I thought Canada would be that second team right behind the United States. There's a couple teams right there: Germany, Canada, France. Yeah. France just lost Germany. I thought Canada would be that next team with the guys like SGA, Dylan Brooks, got RJ Barrett, Lou Dort, Kelly Olynyk. They got a ton. Jamal Murray, obviously. Andrew Nembhard. They got a great team there up there in Canada, but just couldn't get it done. Just Win Baby says, just subscribe. Appreciate that. That's what we do this for. Not just subscriptions. It's not about stacking up our subscriptions on YouTube. It's about getting like-minded people that love the NBA involved in the show in the comments, and that's what we're looking for here.
We like interacting with the fans. Just it's always cool getting different perspectives on things. Like you see what he just said about LeBron and stuff. It's nice to see other guys' perspectives on things. So
exactly. Marshawn Lynch says he hates Evan Fournier more than Tobias. We got a Tobias shout out on the show, man.
Bro,
he's not on the squad anymore, but he's gonna catch it.
Bro, I thought we was done bringing this man's name up, bro. Like I honestly thought we was done.
He ain't make your top 10 small forward.
Come on, this guy here, bro. Yeah, that's right. Bro. This guy here, man. I tell you, this guy here, bro.
Marshawn said, "What's goody, Slim? Appreciate you, Marshawn. Hope you having a great Tuesday there." What did he say? Hold on. What did he say about Embiid? Imagine if the States lose to France. That's not going to happen, Marshawn. Embiid won't allow that. The USA isn't going to allow that. USA is going to go undefeated. But
yeah, they should. That would be pretty nasty. Come on, man. You had the luxury of bringing a guy like Kevin Durant off your bench. You better not lose, bro.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know about Slim. I'm going to shoot you a follow. I'm sure Slim will as well. On Instagram. We'll get the pod on Instagram and follow you there as well. But yeah, definitely so we can DM and collaborate in the future. I would love that for sure. But Slim, do you got anything else for the viewers out there? I know. Hold up. He said you're both 76ers fans or Fakers fan. Nah, I'm a 76ers fan. Slim, you want to tell them who you like out there, my man?
Yeah, I'm a Warriors fan, bro.
Yeah, so we don't got any Lakers fans in here, nonetheless.
No. We don't represent that bullshit over here, bro.
Oh, we got Ferris Khalili. Thanks for tapping in with the P. I don't know if that's for podcast P. I'm not sure. Nonetheless, I appreciate you tapping in as well. Just Win Babies from the Bay. So we got family in here, Slim. We got family for you.
Hey, man.
That's great news. That's great news. Slim, you got anything else for the viewers out there before we get out of here, man?
That's pretty much it, man. Just make sure you guys subscribe to the channel because I see you got a lot of new guys coming in and chatting with us. Just make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn the notification button on so you won't miss any more of this great content moving forward. And as always, hit me and my guy Scotty with follows on X, formerly known as Twitter. You follow myself at RTY30111. And you follow the Scottster here at Scotty Drown. And yeah, man, if he can close it out from here. That's all I gotta say.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the plug, my man. As Slim said, if you're over on the Twitter channel, watching right now, the X channel, be sure to hop over to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Be sure to comment over there on future shows so we can get you involved in the show like we did with Marshawn, like we did with Just Win Baby podcast. Appreciate all of you out there that viewed the show today, that tapped in with us. And we appreciate any of you that view it afterwards. We'll be airing it again. I'm sure you can watch it anytime on our YouTube channel. That being said, we will be back either later this week. We'll have to discuss it. Yeah, could be later this week. Get the power forwards in.
Yeah, we can definitely do it later this week. And Just Win Baby podcast. Comment your Instagram name like under this video, not the live chat. Like comment it on the video or whatever. So
so we can see it afterwards.
Yeah, so we can see it. So
Yes, sir. So they said they not like us. Slim
Come
and
on, man,
Hey.
bro.
Marshawn been here from day one. I'll give him that, bro. He's a loyal one. We appreciate all of you, though. We appreciate all of you. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, everybody. Peace.